Hey everybody, welcome. It's week 4. We're getting started with business writing this week, and I'll kind of go through everything with you, let you know what's coming up, what's going on, all that good stuff, and let's kick it off. So this week we are switching to basically a new topic, which we will continue with for the next couple of weeks, and that is specifically targeted at the professional communication part of our curriculum. So we're going to be working on older forms this week and then newer forms next week, because even though we do most of our communications electronically now, there are still some expectations for business letters and the use of letters in general, that even if you're sending by email, we want to be following. So we're going to look at letters and memos, which are, maybe a little outdated, but they are still things that get used in the business world and the work world. So this week's assignment, you do have a reading assignment from chapter 4 that continues into the next couple of weeks. Chapter 4, of course, in our online text is the biggest chapter, and it kind of is a catch-all. But this week you're looking at pages 33 to 52, and then picking up there next week with 52 to 65. So this week's assignment is a draft of letters and memos. Now, you're going to get a grade for that, and you're going to get feedback on that. And then in the final portfolio, this is one of the assignments that you are going to revise and resubmit. It will not be for a new grade on this particular assignment. It becomes part of the final portfolio, but you will have a chance to make corrections and make changes to this particular assignment. And you'll notice that there are several of those in the next few weeks. Revisions will be submitted in the final portfolio. So it is super important that you obtain and use the feedback that you get from those assignments. And I would make those changes sooner rather than later. If you wait until finals week or almost to finals week before you decide to go back and look at the earlier assignments, it's going to be a lot harder to really get into it and make changes. So as soon as you get grades back on those, I would go ahead and make those revisions and save them with the revised text so that you can then turn around and use those in the final portfolio. So let's take a look at the module, and I'm going to put on the student view so it looks like you guys see it. All right, so we are in week 4. So this week's learning materials, we have, of course, like I said, the chapter 4 portion from our regular textbook. And then we have some additional materials. One is a web page that talks about different types of business letters you might need, and an article from Indeed.com, which of course is a great resource for all kinds of business and professional writing stuff. And then I've got one video for you on business memos, because it is a very specific type of document. And then of course I have a little infographic here to guide you through some important thoughts on how to make sure that you're always using the most current rules and regulations for professional writing. Okay, so let's go then back to the module, and we'll take a look at the assignment for this week, which is the letters and memos draft. Now, it says draft, but I want you to remember this is a real assignment. This is not a draft that you're going to get feedback on and immediately turn in. This is a grade. This is a 50-point assignment. So this is something that you do want to complete and take seriously during this week. But you are going to use it again as a revision assignment for the final portfolio. But try not to let that word draft throw you off. Sometimes when students see the word draft, it's like, oh, I don't need to take this seriously, but it is. This is a real assignment. It's only a draft in the sense that you are going to make some revisions to it, but it's not for a new grade. It's for the final portfolio. So using knowledge from the course and your own research, students will assemble a portfolio showcasing their creation of several pieces of business or professional communication. You're going to have the following things in this portfolio. So it's all going to be turned in one Word document. You're going to have a memo, and then you're going to have 3 letters, business letters. You're going to have an inquiry letter, a response letter, and you're going to also create the complaint that you're responding to. So you get to pretend to be an irate customer and the person who's responding to it. And of course, the person who's responding to it should be the one writing professionally. You can have a little fun with your complaint letter if you want to, and a claim letter. And we'll talk about what those are in a minute. For the formatting, everything needs to be in a single Word document. So it will have a cover page. Use the APA style. You don't have to have a table of contents, but you certainly can if you want to. And then each of the pieces in the portfolio will need to be on separate pages. Most of them will not take up more than 1 page. The complaint and response letter, that is 1 piece, even though it's probably going to be 2 separate pages. But essentially, you'll have a cover page, a memo, a letter, a pre-letter, complaint letter, and a final claim letter. So essentially 6 things. Research and review and use standard current memo and business letter formats. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more before we depart today. Details, you need to use appropriate fonts, sizes, email addresses, and use of space. One of the things that a lot of people do especially when they're writing cover letters, which are business format, we're going to do that down the road, so you don't want to use that for this particular assignment. But anytime you're setting up a professional letter, you're going to include your own contact information. And one of the things that people forget a lot is that if you have a personal email address that is questionable, because maybe it's a dirty joke, maybe it's very unprofessional sounding just because it's too personal or whatever, this is a good time to make sure that you have at least one email address that you can use that is basically nothing more than your name, or your name and a number that is not 69. So that you can use it when you're applying for jobs or when you are doing things for a professional reason. It's just good practice to have something like that. It's the email address you want to have on a LinkedIn profile, for example, things along those lines. So you're going to have that. You're going to include that. You don't have to give me on these letters. You don't have to use your real contact information if you don't want to. If you want to make up an address and a phone number, that's fine. I'm not going to contact you. You also do not have to actually send any of these letters. These are for us. But of course, you certainly could if you wanted to pick a real situation that you need to send a letter for that you could fit into this assignment. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so here's the 4 pieces. One is the memo. Memos are used to communicate within a workplace. Memos are not used to communicate with customers. They're not used to communicate with anybody who's outside of the workplace. So if you have a current job, I would suggest you use that as your who this memo is for, what kind of issue are you working on, is there an issue at your job? You want to focus on something that is real for this. So the way I've put it here, think of an idea you would like to see implemented in your job. Now, if you are not currently employed, you could use Lake Sumter. Many people, though, use Lake Sumter for the claim letter or the inquiry letter in a more formal way, but you certainly could use a memo within the Lake Sumter community if you're not currently employed. If you have a previous employer or something that you want to do with that, that's absolutely fine. These do not have to be 100% real, but they do need to be realistic. So some ideas might be a way to increase productivity or improve service, gain new business, improve working conditions, while write a routine miscellaneous memo requesting action and persuading your audience that your idea is worthwhile. Address the memo to an appropriate audience within your job or the school. Another group that people use a lot for this assignment is if you have children who are in school, you could address the memo to the other parents in your kid's class or something along those lines. If you attend a church, and you want to make a suggestion about people getting together to do something or whatever, you could use that. So just remember that a memo is meant to be a kind of a rallying cry of here's something we should do, and that it is meant to be a address to an audience that you are a member of. So something that you are a part of. So that one is your memo. Then you have 3 business style letters. One is going to be an inquiry, and this would be something that you might send to a business or a charity or even an educational institution asking for information. So you can request brochures, pamphlets, anything informative, or you could ask specific questions. Again, you don't have to mail this letter, but if this is something that you use a real situation for, you certainly could. I'll give you an example of something that we've been working on in our household. We've got a vacation coming up, and everybody, including all the family members, are going to be gone. So we have been looking for information on pet sitting. So you might address this to a local veterinarian's office or a local boarding facility and ask them questions about what kinds of things you need to bring with the dogs and that sort of thing. So think of it as a chance to ask for information. It is not meant to be a complaint. It is not meant to be confrontational. It is, I'm asking you nicely for information. The response letter, you don't have to write a complaint letter, like a real complaint letter, but you do need to have something that this response letter would be answering. So start by writing the complaint to a person or to a business. This could be real, this could be imaginary. I'm sure that we all have businesses that we deal with that maybe we have a complaint about. Once you've written the complaint, and it should be addressed to you. So if I was going to complain about a restaurant, for example, let's say, and I really have no complaints about this place, but I just had lunch at Kyoto Sushi and Grill. And let's say that I wanted to complain about the service that I got today. I would look up their information. I would use their information, and I would address it to the manager and use my name. So you're going to then turn around and be the manager who is answering this complaint, if that makes sense. So once you've written the complaint, addressed to your own attention, you'll write a response as if you were the recipient or an agent of the recipient. Feel free to, of course, have fun making the complaint letter not professional. The one that you're being judged on your professionalism is the response letter. Okay, so there's really 2 things there, but the complaint letter does not have to be a big formal thing. It can just be a rant. Finally, you're going to write a claim letter, and this one you are asking for, this would be the complaint letter, so to speak, if you were doing it, but I want you to write a professional version, a claim letter. So part of this assignment is determining who the right person is to complain or to ask for this particular issue to be solved. So an appropriate school official, a local government official, local law enforcement official, the more localized the problem and the person, the better. Addressing a complaint about America to Joe Biden is just, I mean, that's kind of out there. Even something like many people will choose to write about a statewide problem and they'll address it to Ron DeSantis. That's okay, but it's even better if you can find something more local and more specific. So you're going to write a claim letter to the appropriate person. You're going to identify a problem, offer your input, and ask for some action on their part. Again, you do not have to mail this letter, but you are encouraged to do so, especially if it's about a real situation. Some examples of things people have done before would be, let's say that it's usually not a problem, but sometimes when the time changes in the fall, even at Lake Sumter, the parking lot lights get messed up time-wise when they come on and go off. So it could be something like that. It could be, I am taking night classes at Lake Sumter at the such and such campus, and I am uncomfortable when I am walking back to my car at 9 o'clock, something along those lines. It could be to a local business, but I really look for these to be more along the civic kind of thing. So some people will do, oh, our street has this one pothole that hasn't been fixed. We've complained about it. People have written in about it. It's been 6 months, like that sort of thing. Something that affects more than just you, something that affects whatever community that you are writing about. So it could be your local town, it could be an organization that you belong to, it could be the school that you attend. So you're going to have all of these letters in one Word document. So I'm going to open Microsoft Word for just a moment here, and I'll need to reshare. Where did you go? Word, there it is. Okay, so let's open a blank document. And do I need this? No, I don't. Close that one. All right, so let me share this where you can see the Word document. Now, I will tell you that Microsoft Word does have some templates for things like memos and business letters. And honestly, their templates are not horrible. We're not going to use those templates when it comes time to do a cover letter. But if you wanted to explore the templates, I will show you how to do that. You are first, though, going to treat this as an APA document. So I'm going to click on no spacing. I'm going to center, and I'm going to bold my title. So we're going to call this, it's A3, I think it is, letters and memo draft. Okay, that's fine. We're going to double space, triple space down. We're going to have the student's name. We're going to use Henry Frankie, who's a friend of mine. The next thing is Department of English, Lake Sumter State College. The next thing is ENC2210, Jackie Pierce. And the due date, which is September. Oops, except I can't spell today. I think it's the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay, so there's my cover page. Now, the reason I didn't turn on double spacing is because, of course, the letters themselves are not going to be double spaced. These are going to be created like a real letter would be. So I'm going to go over back to the regular margin, and I'm going to insert a page break. The first thing is the memo. So we're going to have to research how to set up a memo. I'm going to, let me check really quick and see how the memo format in Word is. For business letters, I would use the plainest business letter available. Probably the basic letter is a good one to use. Here's one with business letter, but it's got all these weird like colors and spaces and things. You really want this to be plain. So I would use what's here under basic cover letter because it's set up correctly. I don't see memo, but let me search. Thought it had a search feature. No, we can try it. Nope, they don't have it. So again, you're gonna search maybe under memo. Okay, here we go. Again, I would not use any of these with all this color and all this business. This is your standard memo, interoffice memo. So I would use maybe something like that. You'll notice that it has a title that says memo, and then it's got to, from, and some other information. So you can feel free to use that. For a placeholder, I'm going to put in bold memo random, and I'm going to leave it at that. So that will be first. Again, I'm going to insert an actual, I'm going to give you guys this file. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So now when it comes to the business letters, you are going to need to include all the things that go into a business letter, which will be your contact information. Typically, that's going to be centered. So I'm going to make one of these for you. And let's bold name. This is the other reason I didn't switch to double spacing, because we're going to put the address. Everything should be single spaced here. Oak Drive. Let's do Leesburg. I am totally making this up, by the way. I mean, he's a real person, but phone number. Typically, we include the phone number in 7, and then we also typically will include an email address. You can do that on the same line if you want, or you can put it below. Doesn't really matter. But again, like I said, this is a good time to make sure your email that you're using for these kinds of things is plain. And you can always make more free emails. This is one of those times where you can make some decisions about what something looks like. So if you think, I want this to be more prominent, and I want this to all be way less prominent, then you can change spacing. You can do all of that stuff. From here on out, though, I'm not going to tell you what you need. Okay. Because this is part of your research. So you will have at least this one and 2 more that have your own information at the top. The response letter may be a fake business, but you will also then have the complaint letter. So I'm just going to put in some placeholders for that. So this is the inquiry letter. We're going to insert a page break. And this is the complaint. Insert a page break. This would be the response to the complaint. And one last page, which will be the claim letter. So you don't have to have page numbers on this because these are all really separate documents. You certainly can have the page numbers. In fact, let's go ahead and do it because we want to look APA. So I'm going to put the page number in the upper right-hand corner because this is an APA document. So it will probably be 6 pages. Your letter, one or two of these letters might go over that, but I doubt it. We want to keep business letters to a page anyway. So I'm going to send you this along with the video so that you could use this conceivably as a template. You can certainly feel free to change everything to Times New Roman 12. That is the industry standard. But I typically use whatever Word is using as their default, because the fewer things you change, the fewer things you have to change. So when you're all done with that, I shouldn't have stopped sharing. Sorry about that. When you're all done with that, you're going to use the assignment to click on Start Assignment, and you're going to upload your file. And I'm going to attach this one because it's the sample. And then you're going to, of course, click Submit. That's all you have to do. The rubric, of course, is there. You can check out how it's going to be graded. And of course, when you get the feedback, you will want to also look at the rubric as well as any written feedback. And then you're going to make changes and save that for the final portfolio. So now I can stop sharing, and I wish you a great week 4. If you have any questions, of course, as usual, reach out, and I will see you all in a week. Everybody take care.